Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to our mindfulness practice. Today's topic is about self-compassion. So this is one that we haven't covered really in a bit, but I wanted to cover it today because it's related to this topic of stress and overwhelm that we've been talking about in the last few sessions. And I really wanted to make sure that I hit on this one and that we spend a little bit of time here, because this really does help in the process of stress and overwhelm and resilience as well. So when we have setbacks and we manage setbacks, there are a few things about setbacks. One of them is personalization, that we think that this setback is happening to us and us alone, and that we are singled out by the universe for our missteps or whatever, and we think that it's that this is our thing, and that there's no one else that can understand what we're going through, and that is false. And self-compassion is one of these keys to help kind of alleviate this kind of additional stress that we put on ourselves, because we are not alone, and we are not going through whatever it is that we're going through alone, and we are not the first to experience this kind of emotion that we're experiencing right now. That's not to say that you're not a unique individual. Certainly all of us are different in some ways, but of course this is the thing that we often forget, is our common humanity. So today we'll go through the self-compassion kind of founder. I mean, self-compassion's been around for thousands of years, right? A couple thousand years. But it hasn't really come back into the mainstream, hasn't been researched by scientists until about 2003 is when Kristin Neff started publishing her research out of University of Austin. So let's start there. So Kristin, Dr. Neff, she has a definition of self-compassion. So let's start with that. So self-compassion involves being open and moved by one's own suffering, experiencing feelings of caring and kindness towards oneself, and taking an understanding, non-judgmental attitude towards one's inadequacies and failures, and recognizing that one's experience is part of the common human experience. So it's important to understand this, and I suppose let's just go into what is developed. Is that self-compassion has been proven to be a more effective strategy than self-esteem. So the self-esteem is conditional, that our self-esteem is usually built on something like, I feel proud of myself because, let's go back to childhood, because I got good grades, because I was good at this sport, right? Well, what happens when you have an injury? What happens when you inevitably don't get an A on a test, right? Is that this feeling of goodness towards myself suddenly crumbles because it's based on something that is conditional. Whereas self-compassion is an unconditional kind of love towards oneself, a way to love ourselves like we're a close friend or family member, which is interestingly not how a lot of us treat ourselves. That we'll find that the inner voice that we have towards ourselves is one of harshness. When we fail, when we have difficulties in life, instead of being kind to ourselves and being there to help ourselves back up, instead we have all these harsh words towards ourselves. So one thing you can do to kind of test your own self-compassion, and by the way, besides doing what I'm about to say, there are actual tests that you can take, I think, through selfcompassion.org that are developed by Dr. Neff to be able to test your own compassion, self-compassion. And that's can be a good indicator for yourself. But maybe a simpler way is to just mindfully be aware of that voice inside of your head, right? What do you hear when something goes wrong? Do you hear a voice that says, "Oh, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I made that mistake"? Or what does that voice sound like? Because it'll happen, right? It'll happen without you really even trying. That there will be an inner monologue that has some kind of commentary about the events in your life, and so be aware of that. And if it is a constant negative voice, right? I mean, this just kind of goes back to, and I really haven't talked about this aspect of self-compassion before, but it does contribute to overwhelm. It does contribute to, the lack of self-compassion contributes to overwhelm. It contributes to your procrastination, your inability to get things done, your perfectionism, because I want everything to be perfect, because if things aren't perfect, then I can't love myself, right? And wow, actually, I get chills just saying that, because I can relate to that. I mean, that's I think this is one of the things that has brought me into mindfulness, is that I know myself that in the past I've had a really harsh voice towards myself. And I think that self-compassion has been key and instrumental in alleviating that. And not to say that it's over. Sometimes, even recently, I can think of setbacks that I've had where that inner critic inside was, and I think this is interesting as well, harsh enough that not only am I harming myself through the negative self-talk, but also there's this kind of, because of that perfectionism, avoidance and denial that this negative thing has actually happened. And the desire to look outwards and to blame others for the setback because because that self-compassion isn't there as a foundation. So I can't admit the fault for myself because it's so painful to have to deal with whatever kind of negative self-talk there is, that I have to go, it's their fault, that I can't look here because of that lack of self-compassion. So, and of course that just causes additional stress, not only in your life, but causes harm to those around you as well. Today our practice will be cultivating self-compassion. Before we move into it, I did want to define or break down the three pieces of self-compassion defined by Dr. Neff. One is mindfulness. So mindfulness can help us be aware, right? Be aware of that inner voice. Be aware of how we are treating ourselves and the consequences of how we treat ourselves. That's step one. Step two is this idea of common humanity, that I'm not alone, that the difficulties that I have are shared by others, and this also helps me to relate to others and to bring others into my in-group. That this person who even may seem different from me has a lot of similarities, that our DNA is 99.9% the same, right? There are a lot of ways we can discover common humanity. And last is the practice of self-kindness. So learning that mindfully, when we hear that inner critic telling us whatever negative things about ourselves that most of the time they're not true anyway. So and again, that goes into those three P's of personalization, pervasiveness, permanence. That personalization is a very strong factor of cognitive resilience. So Sorry, this is just kind of going back to previous lessons. So, okay. That's my little talk on self-compassion. I'll get to the chat here after our meditation, but let's go ahead and get into our meditation practice. So get comfortable. One thing I think is interesting about practicing compassion is that it seems that every formal meditation practice around compassion doesn't require you to sit in some formal meditation posture. So sit in any way that makes you feel comfortable. Maybe even lie down if that's what your body is asking for today. And so let's start with mindfulness. Let's start with being aware of what's going on in the present. So noticing the body, becoming aware of the face, the muscles in the face. Are the muscles in the face tense or are they relaxed? The muscles in the neck and the shoulders. The muscles in the back. In the belly. As you breathe, can you feel your belly rising and falling with each breath? Concentrating on that feeling of breathing as best you can for these few moments. And so now, if you're ready, let's begin the self-compassion portion of our practice. Bringing into mind someone who loves you or who loved you unconditionally at some point in your life. And seeing if you can remember what it felt like or what it feels like to be loved by that person. That this person has no agenda. That their love is for you, just as you are. Without you needing to be any different, any more special than you already are. And all they want for you is for you to be happy. That seeing you happy makes them happy. And if you've never experienced that in your life, is it possible for you to imagine someone loving you in that way? That there's nothing that you could do that would change that person's love for you. That this person's love is just for you, just as you are. And so resting in that feeling of being loved as best you can. Being held, being rocked in this perhaps non-physical loving embrace. Being wrapped in the warmth of unconditional love from another. And so, whenever you feel ready, is it possible to bring that love from outside of you inside, so that in this moment you become not only the one who's receiving the love, but also the one giving the love? That you are both simultaneously the mother and the newborn child, loving and being loved in this moment. And so what does that feel like? And for some of us, as we try to do this practice, we find that no special feeling comes. And knowing that that's okay, that no special feeling is required for you to benefit greatly from doing this practice. So as best you can, following along with this practice. And for some of us, what may be helpful is trying to repeat some phrases that may help to cultivate unconditional love towards ourselves. So if you like, repeating after me. May I be happy and contented. May I be happy and contented. May I be safe and protected, free from inner and outer harm. May I be safe and protected, free from inner and outer harm. May I be healthy and whole to whatever degree possible for me. May I be healthy and whole to whatever degree possible for me. May I be at peace. May I have ease of well-being. May I be at peace. May I have ease of well-being. May I be happy and contented. May I be safe and protected, free from inner and outer harm. May I be healthy and whole to whatever degree possible. May I be at peace. May I have ease of well-being. And may I have the courage to love myself exactly as I am. May I have the courage to love myself exactly as I am. And so you can feel free to continue repeating these phrases or bask in the feeling of unconditional love. But if you are repeating the phrases, remembering not to focus on the words. The words are just ways of communication. Is it possible to instead focus on the feeling of being happy and contented? What would it be like to be happy and contented? What would it be like to feel safe and protected? What would it be like to feel whole and complete? What would it feel like to be safe and at peace and at ease? And so as you go through this practice, maybe you feel like you're not worthy or deserving, that there's been some setback that makes you unworthy or undeserving of this kind of love, and that does not matter. Just treat any kind of thought or feeling that goes contrary to our self-compassion as like any other distraction we might have in our mindfulness practice. Just as best you can, releasing it, letting it go, and returning to these feelings of self-compassion. The feeling of happiness and contentment. The feeling of safety. The feeling of wholeness. The feeling of peace. And then recognizing that we are not alone. That in this moment we are here with many others, all meditating together, all sharing similar experiences, many of us having similar feelings, similar ways of talking to ourselves. So we are in this together, sharing the common human experience, being here together, supporting one another. So just taking a moment to reach out. And just your feelings, just this attitude of kindness out to everyone else who's here. May they be happy. May they be safe. May they be healthy and whole. May they be at peace and at ease. And so now, whatever visualizations you may have been having, whatever you've been imagining, seeing if you can just release it, maybe with an exhalation. Return your focus to your body, to your breathing, here in this moment. fully attentive to the inhale, fully attentive to the exhale. Attentive to your lived experience in this moment, your thoughts, your emotions, the you that's here right now. And so, congratulations everyone for having made it through today's practice. I'll close our practice today with 3 rings of the bell. All right. Thanks so much. Thanks for practicing with me, everybody. Thanks for being here for each other as well. How'd it go today? How's your practice? Any thoughts on self-compassion? I'm going to look through the chat here shortly. It's great to have everybody here. All right, here I'll start with like 25 minutes ago. Here we go. Jean says, I practice self-compassion daily. That being said, I'm still taken aback at how easily I can fall off the rail when I'm throwing a curveball. Thanks, Jean, for sharing. Yeah, it is interesting. I need to do more self-compassion practice. My primary practice is just raw mindfulness, raw paying attention to the breath and the body. And I think I just was kind of rudely awakened a couple days ago when some setback happened, when some mistake happened, and I found that I wasn't self-compassionate, and that I was, like I said, kind of pointing fingers and trying to direct the attention away from myself because it was just too painful. And of course that's, one of the underlying issues there is that I just wasn't able to be compassionate towards myself. So, and then Jean shows even with regular practice, even if we are practicing self-compassion every day, it doesn't mean that we're still going to be successful 100% of the time. And, that's the other thing, right? Can I be self-compassionate to myself for not being self-compassionate to myself, right? I mean, it's like when I go, man, I'm supposed to be self-compassionate. I can't believe I'm not. And so then we compound the damage done. No one else has the specific qualities that each one of us has, says John. Thanks, Danny. My pleasure in guiding. It has been a while. We'll have to we should do this more often. The 3 pieces of self-compassion I'm going to go ahead and write into the chat are mindfulness, common humanity, and what was it called? Self-kindness, yeah. So these 3 pieces. And if you want to understand more, one, you can read, you can type in these 3 things because you can check out all of a lot of Kristin Neff's research around it. One other thing is I've got a track on Insight Timer called 5 Myths of Self-Compassion. And that track, let's see if I can share it here. That track, it's basically, it's an article. I don't know if you can click this link. But that it's an article that Kristin Neff has written, just about, some people will go, well, what is self-compassion? And what is self-compassion going to make me weak, right? Because I need that harsh attitude towards myself to be to be successful. Because if I'm easy on myself, I know I'm not going to be able to do all the things that I need to do. I'm not going to be a productive human, and this is the 5 myths of self-compassion kind of covers that. So that's an article that Kristen Neff wrote that I got permission from her to read out loud for Insight Timer. So you can feel free to listen to that if you'd like to do a little bit more research on self-compassion. Micah, a special beachside practice for me today. That's awesome. What kind of bell is this? I bought it. I got it in Bhutan. So you can see, here's the inside and the bottom. If it doesn't shine too much here, I don't even know what it should be like. Anyway. Yeah, I bought it originally as a souvenir from my trip to Bhutan. It was from before I started meditating, and then it's turned out to be a really, really kind of important part of my meditation practice. Been using it years now to end meditations. Thanks, CC, for your donation. Yeah, holidays are hard for me. Thanks for sharing. Sybil says, I thought of my dad when he was there for me as a child. He was such a caring, loving father. Angela said, I just had a big set of professional setback. A big professional setback. I'm having a hard time giving myself some compassion. And I think that's why we practice. Thanks, Angela, for sharing. Dirk says, pay attention to others first. My education makes me difficult to do this self-caring meditation, but I do them every day, and I'll try anyway. Thanks. I'll paste the link into Ryan's Daily Mindfulness Circle. So if you are not a member of the Ryan's Daily Mindfulness Circle group, feel free to join and check out some of the chat that we have in there. And I also post announcements to each time these live practices are going to go live 15 minutes before they do. So just in case you don't have notifications turned on or whatever, and or the link isn't there for some reason, which happens sometimes, like there's no the event doesn't show up on Insight Timer for some reason, you can always click on the link inside that chat. Jean says, tears arose today. May I love myself exactly as I am. I was just thinking that thought when you said that. I've been practicing throughout the day. Extra stressors, I put one or both hands on my heart as if to hold it in embrace. I still find it easier to send than receive from myself, as if I'm my own best friend. Wow, thanks, Jean. It's moving to read that. Thanks so much. Okay. Thanks, everybody, for being here today. It's my pleasure to host these sessions. I'll be back in about 48 hours. It's my last live event for probably a month or so, because I'm heading to my annual trip to the United States to see my family and see my parents, and to share my children with them so they can see their grandchildren. As well, among other things, I've got a few little stops on my North America tour. Be stopping in Calgary as well, and then California. So in New York, it's like I gotta go do the rounds as I head back over there. So those I know that those meditations that are in Ryan's Daily Mindfulness Circle, it's another reason to join that group, is that those meditations are still ongoing even while I'm away. Please feel free to use all the tracks that I have. Those can help guide you in meditation as well. But I will be back. I'm not disappearing permanently, but I am taking a break, which is which is a good thing sometimes. So I'm looking forward. But at the same time, it's travel to me is so stressful. I don't particularly enjoy the process of traveling. I like the outcome. I like seeing everybody, but the whole process of getting ready and travel. I've got three young boys that I'll be taking along with me, and a really tough travel schedule. Yeah, Frankie will miss me too, won't he? But no, I've got good hands taking care of Frank, so he'll be okay. Yeah, and Cece, like Cece says, we meet every day at this time. So even if I'm not here, there's a meditation set up inside, a group meditation set up inside Ryan's Daily Mindfulness Circle that you can join in, and be together and hang out and meditate together. All right. Yeah. If it's your first time here, follow me on Insight Timer, and hope to see you again soon. Let us send our well wishes out one more time. I can never do enough compassion practice. So follow along with me if you like. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone watching, listening right now, wherever you are, I wish you all happiness and peace. And may all of humanity, all of these beings that I have so much in common with, may we all be happy and peaceful. All right. Thanks, everyone. See you again in 48 hours. Until then, bye-bye.